Hello everybody. Welcome back to my channel for those that have been following along with my Zoom classes, and welcome to all of those new ones that haven't yet joined in or are just discovering my Zoom classes now. Welcome everybody. It has been a while, a couple of months. I took a little break to deal with a personal issue, but I am back. And for those that have been following on my journey, you will see that I am still in my camper trailer. There is a housing crisis across Australia, so I'm still here with my mum in the backyard in my camper trailer, but I have done a couple of things different in there. So I've kind of set it up a bit more like a lounge room now, so it's a bit more user friendly. But you know, it is what it is. I'm eternally grateful that I have somewhere safe to be. I'm close to my mum, which was the aim of relocating back from Darwin. So anyway, we are back into Zoom classes. So I hope you enjoy this class, and I hope you'll keep following along. And thank you all so much for your support and sticking with me. And I hope you will stick with me going forward, even though we start to move around a bit more with more freedoms and get together with our loved ones. It's nice to connect from other places and to see new faces. So let's hope you enjoy this one, and we'll get going. I'll just put you down to my craft table. Right, so we are going to be making this tree waterfall. So it's a classic waterfall card, just made in the shape of a tree. There's a couple of little things that we will do differently than normal. This star, whilst it kind of looks like it's all in one, is actually two stars, because you can't have a full one there, it won't move. And the top panel up here is actually the same color as here, and I've just used a paper backing to make it look the same. I didn't like how it had the brown still up here, so when you pull it out, that's what you did see. So it just flows through like a normal Christmas tree, and then there's the little saying at the bottom there. And then that's just on a normal standard A2 card. You know, you can write message, you can stamp into here as well. So it's just a standard in that regard, still a standard card. And then I've just used gold glitter glue for my tinsel, and I've used liquid pearls for the little baubles. And you could decorate this however you want. You just need to keep in mind you probably don't want to put anything down in there, so that when it's lifting up, especially these liquid pearls, they do take a little bit to dry, and if they feel dry and then you put pressure on them, they flatten. So I chose not to put anything there. I didn't feel that I needed to do that. So let's get going. So what you're going to need to make this is your normal size base, which is just an A5 folded in half. You have the pull tab, which is also then going to be our little tree trunk down the bottom here. And this is 23 centimeters by 5 centimeters. You need your mat layer here. And your mat layer is 10 centimeters by 14.3. Then you need 4 squares the same color as your pull tab. And these are what the Christmas tree sits on. And these squares are 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters, and you need 4 of them. You need another piece that is, I think it's 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters, that matches your card here, your base layer. And that's this piece that sits over this top one here. Then you need to have what we call the brace, and that's this piece that goes across here. It's there. And that's just to hold it all into place. And this piece is 4.5 centimeters by, no, it's not, let me see. Yes, it is, sorry. 2.5 centimeters by 10.5 centimeters, sorry about that. And that's it. Oh no, sorry, we had, I've already pre-cut out 2 stars, although one of these stars is going to be cut in half, which is this one here. And then when you pull it out, you get to see the full star here. And that was just so that when it was all together, it looked like it was one full star. And then you need 4 pieces that and these are for the tree. So these are 10 centimeters by 5 centimeters. And we're going to mark them in half here just with a pencil at 5 centimeters. And we're going to cut those down. And I've already done 3, and I'll do this one here with you. And we end up with the triangles that we cut out. Now, what you get left with when you do those triangles is 2 smaller triangles. Keep those because you could make a smaller tree out of them. And then we have on the inside of this pull tab, I've just laid another piece here, and that piece is 4.5 centimeters by 10 centimeters. And I've already gone ahead and done mine there already and colored that in. And they were just stamped images, and I've colored them in with alcohol markers. So you do get to see a bit on the back here, which is the sign of wood paper. And then we will just stick that straight down onto there. And that's it. That's all you need for this. It's not a hard card at all to do. So let's get going. So as I said, we're just going to do a standard sized card, A5, folded in half. It fits a C6 envelope, and it will be normal postage here in Australia. So just give that a good burnish with your bone folder, folded in half, and we just have a normal side opening card. We can stick these panel pieces on now. And I just use, that's so pretty. I love these double-sided papers. You know, they're just gorgeous, but I am going to use the red today. These are, for those that don't know, I am a Kazaz consultant here in Bargara in Queensland. And I've been doing these Zoom classes right throughout the pandemic, and they are free to everybody. They are not a way for me to advertise and try and sell you anything. I'm upfront that I am a Kazaz consultant. But I provide these classes for free to give connection to people, especially when we were going through all the lockdowns. I wasn't affected so much by lockdowns, but I know so many people in New South Wales and Victoria were, and it was just a great way to keep connection, you know, and staying safe at the same time. Right, so that's the base piece. Now, we will need to do, I think we're going to put this this piece on. It can go on at any time. It doesn't really matter when you put it on. It's just going to simply sit across there. You want it to sort of sit up so that you're not interfering with this here. I would construct all of this piece first, and then we can look at doing the brace piece. Now let's get this piece on. It's exact same size as this piece here, and it will be this top one, so you don't see the brown. Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Again, I'm making this piece to be the same as my matte layer, so when it's all together it looks like it's, you know, so when it's all folded down, it doesn't look too much different, like it follows the same pattern. You do need to be careful if you're going to run stripes, like I ran stripes here, so I had to line up those stripes. This one here is not going to matter because they're just random stars. If you had plain paper, again, that wouldn't matter either. So this is just exactly the same size, 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters. Oops, that is not even straight. Let's try that again. One good thing about tape is if you don't burnish it on, you have a good chance. That's my Aussie birds clock. So it's 11 o'clock and that was a raven. There we go, that's better. Tape, if you don't burnish it to start with, oh my goodness, I can't get that straight, can I? If you don't really burnish it down, you've got a great chance to be able to lift it again. and I'm struggling to get that lined up. Right, third time lucky. I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm sure we all have those struggles. There we go. I'm calling that lined up. Right. So that's that one. Now let's cut this one. So this is the 10 centimeter by 5 centimeter, and this, we need 4 of these, and we will be cutting out these triangles. And it's really simple. All you need to do is get your trimmer or your cutter. I'm going to just use my Crafter's Companion trimmer. And all I'm doing is I'm lining up my tick mark here, which is the halfway mark at 5 centimeters. I'm going to line that up and that up with the edge of my cutter. And that's all it needs to do. So the point down here is lining up, and my tick mark there is lining up. And then you just rotate round and do the same thing on the other side. Make sure you've got your bottom and your top all lined up. And it's this bigger piece that we're going to have. Like I said, you could keep these little pieces because they'll make another tree. Make sure you rub out your pencil marks. So now we have our 4 trees. And they will just go attach onto here. Now we do need to do a little bit of scoring here. Just going to get my other trimmer out, which I use as a scorer. And we need to score some marks for the waterfall part so it will flow through. All right, so this piece was 23 centimeters by 5 centimeters wide, and we're going to score this at 5 centimeters, 7 centimeters, 9 centimeters, and 11. So it's 2 centimeters apart. So 5 centimeters, which is the same size as these 5 centimeters. So the first one sits on top there. 5, 7, 9, and 11. So scoring at 5, 7, 9, and 11. So fold those out. Just make sure when you're going to burnish them that they all line up on the edges. And this is the bit that moves with your waterfall. So burnish these down really well, and then go back and fold them over the other way and burnish them down that way too. The more you move this mechanism, the better it becomes. So I'm just going to go back the other way now. And making sure you're lining up all your edges. Right. So this is where these pieces are going to join onto here. And they sit lined up at the top. This is rough, I haven't done this yet. And then they sit down here. So this bottom piece here is what becomes your little pull tab and is your Christmas tree stem. So this will line up here. You're going to center it as well. And then these will line up to the bottom and to the top because this is 5 centimeters up. And we continue to do the same thing. They sit in underneath. And then we're going to trim this down to make it look like a stand. And this is the reason we did this one here, so that when this sits on the top, you don't get to see the brown, because these browns will all get covered up, but the top one doesn't. So it just makes it look like it's part of it. So we're going to attach these. So these bits here are these pieces that are attaching onto here. So you can see they will fold out that way. and then we attach the tree onto the piece. So this piece only, you know, you're only going to put tape you need to only put tape on here, you know, not on the whole of this piece here. So tape goes on the top. You could, if you want to, I think, put the tape all the way through if you want to make sure. Just put 2 strips on it. And I just tape all mine to start with. Now, you don't want to, be careful you don't tape over the score line. You want to be below that score line. And then the very top one, sorry, bottom one. Oh, well. So the top one is this one here. And then you've got, these are the, where they flow through. So these are all the 2 centimetre apart score lines you did. And then the very bottom one is the full piece. And again, you don't need to put it all down the bottom. You could if you wanted to. It's to stop that from lifting any further, but you know, it's not necessary to do that. So again, just putting it as close to the top, but not over that score line. And then these pieces are, because these are 5 centimetres by 5 centimetres, they will fit directly over the top there. And you just keep then putting them to the top. So these are the score lines. So basically to the top of that score line. Now the very, very top one, as we said, is this one that has the paper on it, so that it matches up to the top here. So we'll get these attached. And just lining them up. Just take your time to line up, making sure that you're not over the top of it, but you're sort of right to it, because you don't want to see any brown from that side, you know, from when you're facing it. There we go. And then just pop that one out the way and put the next one on. Again, right up to the top, but not over it. And making sure your sides are all lining up. Put a little press down so you know it's down. And then just flip that one out the way. Just going to keep going until you've got all of them on. So there's 4 of these. And they match up to be exactly the same size. So that last one, flip that out of the way. Take your time, make sure you get it all lined up. Whoops, I'm stuck to my tape. Right. All right, so you should have, this top one has got the paper on it, and then the other 3 down here, and this will be what is going to be the tree trunk. Now, we could cut this little tree trunk out now, and this piece is going to be as wide as you want to make that. So I would just grab your ruler and come in as, like, this is 5 centimetres. So I'm going to sort of make this 1.5 centimetres in. I'm just going to roughly do this. I'm not going to measure fully, although I am going to use my mat, which has got all the marks on it, and I'm going to line up to the 6.5. Just going to run a line down there, and then I'm going to do the same in on this side. I'm going to come in 1.5 centimetres using my mat to line up. And that will give me that size tree trunk. And because remember, this is also your pull tab. I'm just going to draw a line there. So this is the piece I want to keep, but this is the bits that I want to get rid of. So you might also want to draw the line fully across so that you've got something to line up to when you, and I'm just going to use my scissors. So it's these pieces here that we are going to cut out. So just grab your little scissors and cut these corner bits out. So this becomes your little tree trunk now. Then we're going to rub out any pencil marks that are still there. And then we have our tree trunk. So this essentially, the tree trunk sits to the bottom, and you will line this up so that you have even space here. And then that's where this little brace comes into it. So what I did, it's going to be, it has to be under here. So you're going to actually put this so that it sits over the top. And what this brace does, it stops it from wanting to pull out. So without that brace there, when I do this, it would all just fall apart. So it needs something to keep it. It's only attached here on the sides, but it's what stops it all from falling out. So I put my brace so that it lines up with the bottom of my pull tab here. Now again, if you've got paper that is got lines in it like I had here, I found it too hard to try and line them up. It was all right on this piece up here. So I just completely went the other way on this one. On mine here, it's not going to matter. I could, in fact, use it that way, but I want to actually keep it all to the red today. So this only gets stuck down here in the corners. I'm using a 6mm wide tape, and so I use two widths of the tape on each side, and that gives it plenty of room to be able to still come through, but enough that it's not going to lift up. And this is in the middle part here. You can't have tape that's further than the width of that. So just pull that off. And then we're just going to reline that back up. Using the grids a lot here to make sure that I've got this lined up. And I'm really just eyeballing to make sure I've got the same kind of space on either side. I don't measure that up. And I'm just going to put this so that the edge of this here lines up with this edge down here. And it goes right across to the side. There's no gap. And then at this stage, that doesn't matter there. So this is the pull tab that we've created here. And we are going to the bottom of this. At the moment, looks like it all moves around, but it doesn't. We're going to actually put that, and we attach the bottom, this bottom one here. It gets attached, so when it doesn't keep pulling out, you attach it to the bottom here, to the bottom of this here. So we put the tape onto here. Now this is 2.5 centimeters wide. So again, I can put in 2 strips, and that won't go beyond that brace. So this is what's going to sit there and stops it all from moving. So the bottom edge to there, and your little tree trunk sits I've got my tree trunk actually up here on the other one there. So this will sit down there. So I'm going to peel that off. And this is what stops it from moving all the way. So just lining that up again. My tree trunk is lining up with the bottom of the paper. I want to try and make sure I get even sides along here. And I'm eyeballing that. I am not measuring that. And then I'm just going to press down. That's where that will hold on to the bottom there. And so what it will now do, it stops it from moving through. There we go. Now, you could, if you wanted to, we didn't do it all the way through. We could keep that one in place too. And in fact, I might even do that. Just put a piece of tape along the bottom here just to hold that in again. Because you don't go any further through than that one there. That's it, fully opened. Sometimes you might have to just press your card in a little bit to start with until everything starts to work its way through. And because I'm using a lower grade, it's only, I think, a 180 GSM, this cardstock. It's a little bit more flimsy, which is why then we go and put this one. So when this is out, this one sits and attaches itself to in here, and that gives it some strength. Plus, it's just a nice little message here as well. So that's where we're at. So then all we've got left to do really is to put these on, and these sit, you're going to sit, these are 5 centimeters. And they are 10 centimeters across. So this piece of paper is 10 centimeters as well, and the square is 5 centimeters. So essentially you're going to make sure that the green tree comes down to the edge here and that it sits evenly across. So it will just come to the edges here and the top will come to here. Now, if we hadn't put this piece of paper in, we'd see the brown here, and I didn't want to have that. So I just covered it from there. So this is how that will go. We're going to put tape or glue that is basically here. Now we don't want to go over and put anything onto these ends here, so we have to be careful there. Now you could, if you wanted to, make a mark, just a little check mark here, so you know that you're going to go gluing along. You know that you can go to the top here. In fact, you could even go and do it on the opposite side, which is what I might do rather than mark there, is turn. So this is textured. So I want my textured side to be up and this is the back side. So I'm just going to flip that over. And I'm going to mark onto this piece once I have that lined up. So I know that I can put glue in this section, so it can't come down any further than there. So I don't want glue in those sections there, but I can have glue everywhere else. You can glue or tape this, but because you've got a few to do, I just find glue a little bit more quicker on the edges into the center. I'm just using a glossy accent, so I love that glue. And then make sure you are gluing it right to the very edge of your waterfall. And then you just flip it up, flip that one out the way. going to do the same thing again. So we've done one piece, so the second one just is exactly the same way. It sits across, sits up to the top, and make sure it goes right to the bottom of your tab. So I'm just going to measure that up again. Can't be any further than there. And don't need to rub out those lines because you don't get to see them there at the back. Right, that's number 2. Flip that down. And we're just going to repeat that process for the other 2 till we get to the last one. Make sure it doesn't go over the top because it won't flip through if you have it too far. So again, that's the edge. Don't want glue any further than that. And I'm actually just putting that pencil line inside, so it definitely won't see on the other side. Whoops, and I have gone over there. Just get rid of that bit there. Bit overzealous with my gluing. Just make sure if you have got any over spill of glue, you get rid of that so it doesn't stick to the one below it. All right, so we've got one more to go. And we'll do exactly the same thing on this one. Make sure it's all lined up. Pencil line just inside of where I can go to. And by going just inside, it does mean that you don't have to rub those lines out. As I said, you could tape this as well. There'd be no reason you can't tape it. It's, whilst it is a moving part, it doesn't have a lot of pressure on it. So, you know, whatever is your choice of adhesive is fine. Right, and that's the last one in place. Put the top on this, so we will need our glue again at some point. So we have made the flipping tree there. So that's pretty cool. Now I noticed that my brace here is now sitting below, and I really want the brace to be in line. I don't want this edge here because I only somewhere along the line it's gone out of whack, and I don't want to have the brace sitting below, but it is only on there with tape, so I am going to move that up slightly. If you had glued yours on, you know, we just live with that because it's handmade. But I can move it, so I will move it. Just gently pull them up. Take your time. Because we've attached it now, actually, because we have attached it, it's probably not going to work. How do I attach that? Tape. get to see all my bloopers. Well, it's not really a blooper. It just came out of line. I would prefer not to see it as opposed to seeing it. So it's just a matter of, I had just, it was all lined up. And then obviously when I did the final bit, it has slightly moved. So I just want to line up my tree trunk to the bottom. My tree is lined up to the sides. And I want this brace to be across this bottom here, which should be what lines up. That's better. I'm not sure why it moved out the first time, but anyway, we're back in business. Just going to put those down. So I'm just reburnishing these just to make sure that they are going to stay in place. And this is the bottom one here that I burnished on. And we're back in business. So there we have it. Oop. Oh, and do you know what? Have we all done that mistake? Back to front, Miss Molly. How many people? Put your hand up. So let's bring that off again because I put it on upside down. Very gentle. Take it off. Right, get into the practice of making sure you know which way your card opens. You would think after, you know, doing it once, you wouldn't do it again. But you know what? We do. We absolutely do. Right, there we go. So there is our card. It is opening the right way. It has our full tab and voila. So all that is left now to do, and like I said, this is only getting stuck because it's in the beginnings of the card. So, you know, once it gets worked over a bit more, it will slide a lot better. Right, so really all that's left is to decorate. Now with our stars, because we're going to need to do 2 stars, we sort of put 1 star on and then we line it up and put the next star on the bottom so that when we open it, you see a full star there, because you can't have a full star, it won't roll through. So essentially you're sort of just lining the top star to a bottom star, and then you can trim it down as necessary. So I've basically just eyeballed that star to be at the top here. And then this one is just going to mimic on that top one. So they kind of sit over the top of each other. And then you glue this top one on. So, you know, so we actually have to also cut off this one. Now this does get a little bit fiddly to do this, but you know, just sort of, I've just had to try and push it through, and I'm just going to cut that overhang off. Just have to manage that the best way you can. Right, that should work. So now I know where I'm going to be able to put that. And then, as I said, this star here sits in over the bottom. And this one was what came in over the top. And all you're doing is making it look like it's sitting in over the top of each other. So when it's closed, it looks like a full star. And then I would glue this top one on first, because you can then line up the bottom one. So just still using that top one as a guide. And then your bottom one, you can line up then to top one. Right, and really all that is left now is to just do your bit of decoration here, and we will add in this piece here, and that's it, that's done. So we've done it, a waterfall Christmas card. Now you could go to the trouble if you wanted to, putting a hole into that and putting some ribbon or twine or something on that. I don't feel you need it. You can just use your thumb to slide that out, and that slides out fine. So whilst we have that here now, I might as well add that piece to it that we made. I had already done this, and this just sits evenly through here, so we have a even on each side, and you don't see that when it's all done. So it's another nice little message, you know, that they get once they open it up in full. So this just sits evenly top and bottom and sides. And again, I've just used glossy accents here for the little berry, and it just gives it some dimension and some shine. And I've just used glitter glue here on my ribbons. And I've coloured these images in just with alcohol markers. So when that slides up, you don't see that. And then you really just decorate this how you want. So I just did glitter glue. Put that cap back on. So I did glitter glue for my tinsel, and I've just kept it simple. You know, you could decorate this as much as or as little you want. So I've just, you know, put it like it was hanging on your tree. There we go. Now it's coming out. Whatever you do decorate down here, though, just keep in mind that it has to be able to flip through the waterfall. So you don't want a lot of dimension because it will get stuck. So that's why I just sort of kept it, a little bit simple, but it still looks really effective. And then I just use I've got 5 different colors here of my liquid pearls. And I just did random around with these dots. Now these do take a little bit to dry, so you do need to keep that in mind. And like I said, I didn't do the bottom, I just kept it all to the top here. I felt I didn't need to do all the way up into that, and it also keeps it a little bit flatter if you don't put anything in there as well. And I don't think you know, anything has been taken away from it by doing that. And I'll just keep adding in all 5 colors. You can use as many or as little as you want. It's up to you. Whoa, that's a big one. Just gentle little squeezes. And my last color, and basically we are done. Such an easy card to make. And that's it. That's our waterfall Christmas tree. I'll use this one to pull through because that's still wet. So you just use your pull tab here. And then you can decorate, you know, the inside of your card as you want. But that is your waterfall Christmas tree. Very, very easy to make. If you liked this video, I would love for you to give me a thumbs up. Drop me a comment, show me what you have made. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel and click that little notification bell. So every time I put up one of these tutorials from the Zoom classes, which is every fortnight, and these classes are free, you'll get notified when that comes up. Thank you so much for joining me again, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas with your family, and we'll see you on a Zoom class. Bye for now.